Hello and welcome to the channel. Tonight is a very special night because this is the new moon. And this new moon has Neptune right next to the sun and moon. So the sun and moon are at 23 degrees Pisces and Neptune is at 20 and Venus is right at 19. So they're all grouped in really close. And this is going to really highlight and emphasize the powers of Pisces. So I wanted to jump on here tonight and talk about some techniques you can use to help release and allow energy to move through your body. The topic of trauma and ecstasy came up today in my daily meditation and my daily process. So I want to talk about that, give you some idea about what Pisces is as an archetype, what Neptune is as an archetype, their power, the power of Pisces and Neptune, what some of the symptoms might be in your body, and some techniques to help work with that. So let's start off by calling in sacred space. When we call in sacred space, we are reminded that we are constantly in ceremony, that we're constantly surrounded by our guides, our spirit guides, our ancestors, our angels, light beings, animal spirits, elemental spirits, everything that we are able to perceive. And I've seen different people in readings that I noticed that some people seem like they have a full entourage of spirit beings, and some people it's different. So if we call in sacred space, and I think that the more that we do that on a regular basis, the more that those spirits want to be around us and are supporting us. So just take a minute to close your eyes, breathe in through your nose as you inhale, bringing that energy all the way down to your pelvis. And you're going to scoop that energy in your pelvis up and exhale that up, and connecting to the cosmos. As you inhale, bringing that cosmic energy down to the pelvis, reaching beyond the pelvis into the earth, and then grabbing that earth energy up through the perineum, up through the spine, exhaling upward to merge that up to the sky. I'm going to take a couple of rounds of breaths, just like that. Then you're going to call in sacred space. So the way that I do this is I literally say, my spirit guides, my ancestors, I'll call in Isis, Mary Magdalene, the Kali, and sometimes the different spirit, it might be different at different times. And right now, because of the heavy Pisces energy, I have been feeling a lot of those transformative energies. So the ones that I just named, especially tonight is Shivaratri. So Shiva, Kali, Shakti, that big universal energy that is basically, okay, so Shiva being consciousness, the mind, and then Shakti being that earth energy and the physical body, that energy that rises up from the pelvis, those two merging together, creating the whole dance of life. So calling all of that big energy in, and then the archetype of Pisces, calling in Neptune, really feeling Chiron, right now. So calling in that energy also. Chiron is going to be coming up really strong in these next weeks as Venus joins Chiron and Venus in the underworld portion of that journey. So calling in sacred space, I also today want to share this teaching about the elements in our physical body. So as part of calling in sacred space, we're going to take this section of our head, and this being fire, the fire of perception in this portion of our body. So allowing those two things, fire, fire. So when we're calling in sacred space and we're recognizing our spirits, we're recognizing our animal spirits and the elemental spirits, they have a home in your physical body. And this is what makes a difference between who has a full entourage, is because they recognize that those spirit beings are not separate from them. And this is Pisces. This is the Pisces energy. Because with Pisces, the boundaries dissolve. So when you're receiving a message, it's like it was able to hit into your fire of perception because there has been a place in you that is receiving and sharing with that information. Okay, so fire. Then we're going to move down from about the throat to the bottom of the ribs, just about. And this is the air element. So within this air element, I call this the cave of wonders, because if you think about this like a cave and there's vibration, like if you lay next to somebody who's talking, that vibration feels amazing. And this is sound. We're able to make sounds from this cave of wonders. And within this cave, and that vibration is happening, actually, Tantra Yoga, they call it anahata, the unstruck sound, so that there is a sound made without two things clapping together. It is the original sound of creation with just one, not two. That's that original vibration of the unstruck sound. Okay, so that's the air element, and our capacity to make the sound, to vibrate. Now, when we're calling in sacred space, we're inviting in the air element of sound, vibration, music, and letting the things that are meant for us. And then the question of duality and the dichotomy of good bad comes up. And in my reality bubble, but then again, I have 5 planets in Pisces. In my reality bubble, nothing that is not for me. Okay, let me restate that. Only things that are for me are allowed to come in. Only things that are for me are allowed to come in, unless they are of a similar vibration or higher. And it sometimes we'll have a new guide that wants to come in. So I'm seeing a big bird that I haven't seen before in my perception, in my, it could be anything for you, but I'm going to go ahead and say this. I'm seeing a huge bird that I haven't personally worked with, and I'm sensing it in my field. And so sometimes there's a new spirit that wants to work with us. You can set that boundary that, okay, nothing that isn't for me can come in. So only things that are for me can come in, unless it's my frequency or higher, and it has something to teach me, to add. There's a healing that needs to happen, some integration to include more into my reality, into what I'm sharing with the world, or anything that has to do with who I'm working with or what's happening in me. Okay, so this is the air element. All right, so let's move down to the water. Right below the diaphragm to just below the belly button. Actually, this is more like a fist below the belly button. Our water. You go reach behind you and you can feel your kidneys are right there. This is the water element. The water element. So calling in whatever the elements, the spirit of water and whatever guides, dolphins, currency, the currency of our emotions, calling in sacred space, the ocean, those sea creatures, that there's all these messages for us. Man, such a Pisces moment because my whole thing just went to like water, like grabbed all the water and was like, wow, you have all this creative potential. That boundary, and here we go. Okay, so the boundary of what you have believed yourself to be is a limit, and you've limited what you'll accept into your space based off, oh, this is good, that's bad, this is mine, that's not mine. Pisces teaching is about dissolving boundaries. Things that are meant for me are allowed in this space, and we have all these spirit guides around us. We have all this. We don't need to add the element now of protection. Do we need to protect ourselves? And I'm seeing a writing that says, when you protect yourself from being hurt, you protect yourself from evolving. You're protecting yourself from your own evolution. Okay. So this is the Pisces teaching of this agony. We're going to get down to the earth, but I want to just give this little water piece. Okay. We're calling in sacred space. I'll get back to the water piece. Okay. So this feeling of like worry, because Aries season is coming. The more you can dissolve the boundaries of what you have believed to be you and what is not you, what is good and what is bad, allow as much as you can to dissolve. And we will do a practice to help with that dissolution of the boundaries, which are protecting you from evolving. Whew. And in Aries season, that's when we're going to assert ourselves and we're going to be really clear and precise and direct about who we are, what we want, our will, our leadership. But we're not there yet. We're in Pisces season. We're at the Pisces new moon where Neptune is highly charging the energy of this new moon, and Neptune is dissolution. Neptune is the whole sea of consciousness. Okay, so moving down to that one, if you take your fist and put it right below your belly button, and then so the diaphragm to that space right below your belly button, that being the water. Now, below that, into your pelvis, down into your perineum. This is the earth element. The earth element. This is our resources, our money, our ancestors. This is our strong roots into the earth. With the onset of Christianity taking over and goddess traditions being vilified and slaughtered, these two elements have been also, the word rape is coming in, vilified, mockery, made fun of, devalued, but because of how great the value is. And we collectively forgot about these elements or put them in a category as less than, less than fire, perception, and air, our ability to share information through vibration. So, calling in sacred space, calling back the power of your water, the power of your earth. These are actually the most powerful. They're not. There's no most. They're equal. They have their own harmonic. They do things together. But the way I'm seeing this is like really important to call back that energy. Really, really important to embody your rectum, your anus, uh your all of that, your genitals, your like spend some time during this new moon rubbing oil on this section of your body, touching this section of your body, calling in the spirit of the element earth. You can hold your sacrum. So many people have pain here. And I think this is part of the reason why we have so much pain in our sacrum is because this is what has been taken from us. And so as we gather and call back in that earth element, and you can tell your body you're good, you're safe, you're valuable, I love you, pulling all that energy back in, calling back in the spirit of the earth back into your sacrum. And then the same thing with this water element, calling back in the water element. Your kidneys are so good. They're purifying the waters in your body. And so like this, when we do water blessing, really bless the water within yourself. Okay, and the same thing, calling back in the spirit of the air, and then calling back in the spirit of the fire. So, okay, sacred space, calling in sacred space. You've called in your spirit guides. We've really, really welcomed in all of that elemental energy, your ancestors, the roots below, and that ancestral lineage that you come from, all the way down till you go past that, beyond, and connected to all of our ancestors, the collective ancestors. And that's the beauty of so many mixed races, is that by this point, everybody's profile is so long. We really are all, that ancestral wisdom is for all of us. Pisces, dissolving boundaries. I am this, I am that. I'm not this, I'm not that. We are all of it. So you're from the earth. You're also from the stars, merged together. And when you go beyond your physical body, there is no definition. There's no defined. And of course, you can pull up a profile and see some genetic makeup, but we are all sharing the earth and the ancestors of the earth. And the same with this sky. Nobody ever doubted that. The sky teachings, all the different ways that our ancestors did connect with the sky, that's for all of us also. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about that water teaching. The other night I was laying here in bed and I was falling asleep, and I started to have like sensations in my body and visuals of, you know, not me. It wasn't something happening to me. It was things that I know of other people suffering. And particularly, it was about my friend who's in prison. That was the beginning of it. And, feeling like it's cold. They have terrible blankets. They haven't eaten a real vegetable for my friend in years. For people that are there longer, they, haven't eaten a vegetable. Sometimes they don't get fresh air or sunlight. And, there are so many things you can care about. There's so many different things that can be something that triggers this response in you. So this is where the split of traumatic, ecstatic. When does ecstasy become trauma? When does trauma become ecstasy? So I'm going to hold these two ideas here as I'm talking. And I'm going to share this experience because it fit that whole polarity. And I know that you've had this. I feel like, when I say these things, you're going to say, yeah, I can either relate from an experience, or it makes sense because the polarity, more of one, maybe, but they're together. Okay, so my body starts tightening up, contractions like giving birth, but through my arms, my legs, my feet. And I thought, is this restless leg syndrome? But it was actually my whole body just like cringing, and then, and I just shake around. But I was falling asleep. So I was very tired, and I wanted to go run, but I couldn't because I was too tired. My body had that surge of energy and memories coming through, and I'm like trying to, and then I'll let it go. But it's like energy passing through, and there's places in my body that like tighten up because I don't know why, because it tightens up, and then I have to do something to open it so that it can move through me. And then there's, moments where it feels so good, almost like an orgasm, like the feeling of the energy squeezing and then releasing. I'm like, kind of start moaning a little bit, but also I'm crying. And it's this dichotomy. Okay, so all the trauma that I've had, the energy's moving through, touching those places. And with our brain, there can be muscle memory. So there's a pattern that when we think a certain thought, it goes straight to that part in the body. There's memory in that part of the body that maybe when it contracts or we get touched there, that it'll send that neural pathway. Sorry, I'm seeing, so our spine and the nerve plexuses that connect to that part of the body. So they have a response together. And there's no words for it. There's no I couldn't write it because it was so nonverbal. Like there was not really any like personal memories that I could really relate to the feelings. And there's a lot of therapy where you will go through and you will find what it was and what happened. And a lot of people do know what their trauma was, and they do know those moments of ecstasy that they weren't able to fully let in. This is what happens in a traumatic event. We don't fully let it in. A lot of times we like fright, and our spirit, like, my dad calls it, goes everywhere at once. So it's kind of like, and this. And if you've worked with me before, when I say call in all your energy back into your spine, this is where we bring all of ourself back into the center. In the moments of a traumatic event, it's like you go everywhere at once. And it's not just here outside your body. Part of you can zoom off to your safe place. Part of you can, So in shamanic healing, they have this thing called soul retrieval, which I have a hard time. I have, of course, had soul retrieval. I worked with a shaman for 2 years doing training as a shamanic practitioner. And I have had that work and it's amazing. But in the end, my body's wisdom was like, hey, we didn't go anywhere. Your soul, this is the soul. Your body is your soul, and it didn't leave. Calling it back in just means that you're just like we did when we called in sacred space. It never went anywhere. You always had the air element. It was just a recognition of calling it back in. So in the moment of trauma, you maybe burst out. You might be hanging out above your head. You might be hanging out. There might be pieces of you hanging out just outside. It didn't go anywhere though. You leave. Okay, so there's more in this section of trauma, but I want to go now to ecstasy. In a moment of, I remember, this is not my own personal story, but somebody told me, a man told me that he has been with women that when they're about to have an orgasm, that they get freaked out and push him and like, go, no, 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 because it's so similar to trauma that you lose control. You have to surrender to have an orgasm. You can't be in control. There are techniques to help to control the energy of the orgasm, but you can't control, like, make it happen or make it stop, or you have to fully let your body be relaxed and open. Energy needs to be moving freely through your body. So sometimes we can't let in fully the energy of ecstasy. And so when we get close to a moment of, like, you lose your mind a little bit, and I'm not just orgasmic ecstasy. There's other things, food that tastes so good, or you're doing some movements in meditation. It's happened before to me that I have, or in a dream. You're like lucid in a dream and beautiful things are happening. And sometimes it's like to let yourself be receptive enough. Receptive is a word that we're using right now for this new moon, also because Venus is so close. We're going to be working with that energy during this moon. You need to be receptive enough. Okay, I know, here's over here, trauma, over here, ecstasy, receptivity. Now I'm going to take us back to that scene when I was in bed and I was like, oh, scrunching up and then shaking around and like, things were just feeling so contracted and tense, and I couldn't stop crying. It was just like really convulsive crying with like, like, like my body was making movements. And then my partner was here and I had him hold my belly, but then when he held my belly, I felt like there's like 25,000 orgasms in there that hadn't been able to move. And so it felt very like ecstasy. And I was having traumatic, it's like energy trying to move through, and it's hitting all those places in my body that still have that pathway, remembering my pain and remembering my trauma. And then I'm over here like, okay, this isn't in the moment. This is not happening. I have nothing to be afraid of. There's not even really, it wasn't my personal emotion about myself. There's nothing happening, but there's so much happening. And I thought to myself, this is why people drink, because this is why people do drugs. Because I don't want to be feeling all this. And I think if I take something, it'll help my body to relax. But then, no, don't do that. Be with what's happening. Do your best to connect your breath, connect above and below, let the energy from above, stream down through my spine, connect down into the earth, stream up through my spine. Let my body be that bridge. Allow the energy to move through me. I wish I would have got up and done some of the sun salutations, because that is such a good practice for if you have restless leg syndrome or restless whole body syndrome. And since then, I have been doing that every day. I'm like, why did I stop doing this? Because it really helps it strengthens, lengthens the spine. Every time you inhale, every time you exhale, you fold in. Every time you inhale. So this pumping action happens in your nervous system and the blood, and you're able to really allow energy to move through you. So it passed, and I was just left with this feeling of complete exhaustion. But it was okay because it was better than the contractions. But my takeaway from that is that energy isn't stored in places in our body. Energy, by virtue of being energy, it's movement. Our energy is like the electricity, like it's always there and moving. What we might call a blocked energy is only our thought connected to a place in our body that if you touch that place in your body and do some breathing, it may trigger some response. It may trigger something uncomfortable, like in body work, when I'm holding people and working with them. And if I hold a spot and ask them to breathe, and what do you see? What do you feel? People do have memories come up, but that memory itself is not technically memory stored. And it's not energy stored. The energy is moving and flowing, but this space has become, what's the word? It's like you push this button and it highlights that whole pattern of, I feel a thing, it reminds me of this. Or I'm reminded of this and I feel a thing. There's like a pathway connecting those. So, what we need to do for this new moon in Pisces, what a wonderful, amazing blessing and a gift. Because Neptune, and today is actually an exact hit. I'm in a Neptune initiation. This is the third hit. It's a year-long process, and I haven't integrated the Neptune teachings yet fully. I'll come back next year and tell you more about what I know about Neptune from my lived experience. Right now, I'm still like really in the whole whirlpool of the whole stream of consciousness as it's, I've been getting these lessons. A lot of it is about lay down, relax. This energy of this currency of Neptune ruling or not ruling, co-responding with water. It's currency, it's moving. It is what creates life and destroys life, because we got those tsunamis. We have the pressure of water. Water is definitely not just love and light. Water is all inclusive. There's that deep portion of the water, which relates with Scorpio, which relates with death. It's that deep pressure and there's no life. Then we have Cancer, which is that warm water of amniotic fluid and birth. Then we have Pisces water, which corresponds with Neptune, which doesn't have a preference for that death water or that birth water. It's all inclusive. All inclusive means that when we, in our body, when we see these things that we've labeled as bad, this is trauma, this is a bad thing that happened to me when I was this age, I had this happen. And trauma, sometimes people's trauma is like, my mom never mowed the lawn and she would always drink alcohol, and that pain for that person, that is a traumatic thing for them. And then somebody else's trauma, where you can list so many, there's a variance, but within the body, it's relative to the person's circumstance, the time they were born, the time meaning, like, if you were an African brought to the Louisiana situation, your trauma and your ancestral trauma is going to be a lot different than, hmm, different, but relative to the situation. Especially when you go into the genetic trauma and the ancestral trauma, these traumas live in our DNA. I see it as like light spirals of information. It's information. So we'll have a knowing of it in our cells. And sometimes people don't even notice it. They don't tap in that deep. They didn't go beyond Saturn in their psychology. And that's fine. That's totally fine. Those of us who have gone beyond Saturn, mean that boundary of middle world reality, you've gone into Uranus, outside the confines. You've gone to Neptune, and then you've gone to Pluto, and then the whole range of what else is out there for us to have gone into. That subtle energy will be more impactful for these people. So what we want to do for integration is healing. It's including the experience. It's inclusive means that we're no longer saying this was a good thing that happened to me, this was a thing that happened to me. Because when you feel the feeling, it's a trigger. We actually, in massage therapy, we call it trigger point, where you touch something and it shares blood, because there's a pathway that's connected. You push there and the person's like, oh, I feel that run up, because it's sharing a pathway. You get triggered. You get triggered psychologically when somebody says something that gets you in the gut. We say got me in the gut. Allow that trigger mm, to stimulate a response. The healing response can be, I noticed this. Okay, when I see that person, I feel this way. Okay, well, it's not about the person. What's going on in your body? Allowing the energy to move. So I had this experience today where I was like, oh, my face is getting tingly. I was gonna cry. I got triggered. It's my abandonment wounds are so triggered right now. So triggered. And I think humans at whatever phase of life that you're in, if you are a human, you were born, you had the wound of separation from being a free electron out in the universe, just not, bouncing off of things, from being light and then contracting into density, contracting into form, and then being held in a womb, a watery womb, whether you liked it or not, and then squeezed out and then brought into this dry, weird place where there's bright lights and sounds that aren't always nice. That's a wound. That is, so the abandonment wound. Okay, abandonment, loss, betrayal, guilt, shame. These are all pretty universal. So between different cultures, even. When that trigger comes up, instead of telling a story, okay, I feel my throat getting tight. I feel my face tingly. Okay, now my eyes are watering. Am I going to cry? What's going on in my body? Where do I feel this? Okay, I feel it in my belly. So instead of saying like, "Oh my God, I can't believe he's going to leave me. I remember my dad left me and I can't believe he did that. Nobody loves me. I'm never," this whole story starts spinning. Once the story starts spinning, hold yourself. How can you hold yourself when you're telling your story? Your story has value. There's honor and respect and all of those things. The story is your lived experience, and there's nothing wrong with it. And it's not true. It's not true. You don't know why he's leaving. You don't know why your dad left. You don't know why your mom said that thing or your grandpa did that. You don't know. You don't know what their truth was relative to that moment, relative to your life. All you know is your fire of perception and how that imprinted your physical body's muscle memory in connection with the fire of your perception. So as your mind starts to tell the story again, you can hold yourself in a way of like, yes, I did experience that. And now in this moment, I don't know what the hell's happening. You can be curious. This is Neptune teaching. This is a Pisces teaching. Be in the unknown. The more you try to fight and struggle, the more likely you're going to get exhausted and drown. The more you're able to let your body, like, okay, the waves are on my back and I'm floating in the ocean. And you allow your body to go with the fucking flow and stop telling a story. Oh, I feel like this. Oh, wow. And this energy is moving through me. I feel that. Oh, it's getting me right in the, oh, is that my ovary? Okay, yeah, I feel that right in my left ovary. Breathe into it. Allow the energy to move. The story will come up because it's associated with that part of your body. The story isn't true. In this moment, that story is a past reference point. And that past reference point does not need to guide you into the future. So to untangle, or I think there's an actual word called decoupling, where so in trigger point therapy, we hold it down. We hold it down. We stop the blood flow. Once you stop the blood flow, the connection is stopped. And now that pain that goes up to your head is not anymore associated with this muscle tension. So like that, decoupling is where you feel a sensation and one of my mentors gave me this technique to look at my hand, which I love because it's part of lucid dreaming technique. Get in the moment. Look at your hand. Oh, I'm here. This is me now. This is not the hand that I had when that trauma happened. So the first thing you want to do is stop, look at your hand. Okay, I got a little dirt under my nail. What is that? Okay, I'm very present. Be very aware. Notice that this story is happening and give thanks. Give thanks. Always give thanks because this story had a very important impact on your life, obviously, if it's still here. Now, this feeling that you have in your physical body is just energy. It's just energy, which is a miracle that you have energy. So allow it to move, allow it to flow. I put my hands right on my body, and if there's somebody there, I will ask them to put their hands on my body. Squeeze it, touch it, push down on it for the weight, feather stroke it, squeezing, I already said that one. Um, so that you are triggering your body to move energy and taking the story out of it. Something that helped me was to write, and I wrote a book. But in that book, there's a section which was some of my hard trauma that I could write and share without hurting my family's feelings. So there wasn't a lot about my experiences with my dad or my some. I told some because some of them I don't want to share publicly, but I wanted to share this piece publicly. So writing down some of that, now you're able to take it out of your physical body. You're able to write it down, take it out of your body, and put it somewhere else because that story doesn't need to stay in your body. Release the reference points, releasing the self reference, taking that story, putting it out of your body, allowing the energy to be just what it is. It's a tightness, it's a tingling feeling, it's a cold spot, it's a hot spot. I feel it radiating. The story is gone, the energy is allowed to move. So, one technique, oh, I think I just gave one. You hold the body part, um, doing some self massage on the body part, writing the story, taking it out, working with your physical body. Always remember to breathe. And I like to use my spine as a ladder. The ladder can extend up and connect with the planets who I feel an intimate connection with. So for you, maybe it's angels, ascended masters, light beings, whatever you feel you have an intimate connection with. So that ladder can connect because it's always good to ask for help. If you don't ask for help, you're not going to get it because we have free will. Those, like when I call the names of the planets, it's better if you have a name because if you call that name, that energy in there's no time. It's already there. It was waiting for you to ask. And then with that ladder connecting down into the earth, the same thing. Those animal spirits, the spirit of earth element, of rocks and gemstones and crystals and ancestors, you can use the spine to connect down and pull that up into the body. Your physical body is going to be your best healing tool because all, like when we called in sacred space and these elements in our physical body, it just extends out and gets more and more subtle, but it's all there. So through this, it's an antenna, it's a receiver. Our physical body is a receiver, and everything that we'll ever know or experience will be through this vessel of our physical body. Your body is an altar. Your body is to be adorned, cleaned, cleansed, loved, kept safe. By safety, I mean locked doors and comfort and, whatever level of work that you're doing, that's your reference for the level of safety. And taking care of, okay, so back to this ladder. So you're able to breathe energy into different places because when you're working with your body, so say tonight you're going to be laying in your bed and you can just take your hands and you can scan your own body and you feel where you feel called. Um, and you put I keep going to this section and I haven't done this. I have no awareness, but something is going on over here. So when you're breathing cosmic energy in through the nose and you've energized your spine, an energized spine, disease cannot live in a spine that's energized. And to energize your spine, you really just need to bring that awareness. All these exercises of calling in sacred space, breathing energy through your body, decoupling your story from places in your body. Energize your spine and then direct energy to where you need it. So, spine as a ladder. When you're doing this energy work on yourself, every time you inhale, you merge earth and sky into your heart. On your exhales, you're sending that energy out through your hand. So while you're doing that, you can also sense, you can use your mind to sense and feel, okay, what's going on. And actually, what I'm hearing is don't worry so much about what's going on. Just focus on sending energy to the area, clearing the area. And if there's something that you need to know, trust that you will. You'll see it, you'll feel it, the belly will rumble, you'll have a memory of something, you'll have a visual of something. And now, when I say memory, I'm reminded to tell this. The memories are a reference for, oh, yeah, this is like that. So then you can give it. When memories become something that keep you frozen in the past, this is the reference point that I'm talking about. Don't make choices from memories that are frozen in the past. When you're working, either through, your practice of the cards, you're working with reading the astrology charts, or you're working with energy in somebody's body, or picking crystals, or cooking, or whatever it is that you're doing, that you're using your intuition. When a memory flashes up in your mind and you let it just be in the moment, like, oh, and then you were able to see that, because these reference points, I just want to be really clear about this. They're good. It's good to have these. The more that we studied and experienced life, the more references we're going to have in the moments in your process. And this reference point comes up. We usually, this is the thing. If all of your life is a ceremony, every thought and every word that you're speaking those are your prayers. Every action is a ritual in this ongoing ceremony of life. The reference point pulls you back into the past. And if you take an action based off of that reference point, you are doing this. I want to say not progressing, because the other thing that you can do is have the memory pop in, the reference point. You notice it. Okay, I'm having a discussion, a heated discussion with my beloved. And this reference point comes in, and I automatically say what I would have said, and I do all this stuff. And because I'm not really fully present. I'm still recycling from that trigger point, from my reference, from that past. So what we need to do is slow the fuck down, be more receptive to what's actually alive and happening in the moment, and then make a choice so that your past dictate your future. The past it's something that has already happened. It was a learning experience. It was part of growth and development. And it is a well of knowledge. But as energy is currently running through your body, Kundalini active, chakras open, energy alive and flowing through your body all the time, that past memory of a reference point, I'm seeing it being like, okay, just set that off to the side. This is not intelligent to keep making choices based off of this. Be in this cosmic sea of consciousness that is flowing and moving. There's, if you ever went surfing or been rolled through the ocean, you're moving, you have to be present to, soften your body like the palm trees, soften your body to be moved. Life is moving through you. All these elements are moving through us. If you stick yourself in this way because of your references, now you're not able to go with the flow, and you're limited. You're very limited because you only know what you know. If you know that you don't know and you remain curious, I wonder what that is. I wonder what this means. Oh, what if? No, not what if. What else? Now you're inviting spirit to come in and move through you, and move you to the places that are more progressive. You don't know what's going to happen, and there is infinite potential. Okay, I could go on and on. I'm going to go ahead. It's almost been an hour. So, for the new moon, allow the energy to move through your body, shake it up, dance. Belly dance is really good. Even if you don't know how to belly dance, ask me for instructional videos, and I have so many that you don't have to dance. Just doing the movements, like, okay, my shoulder is moving. Okay, now my arm is moving. Now just my hand is moving. So getting all of our joints, which the joints in our body are our ancestors. They are our ancestral memories. My water is okay. Now my pelvis is moving. The waters are starting to undulate in my body. Now this is, now we're current. We are current. Movements keep you current. Breath work keeps you current. In the moment. So with this new moon, you want to do whatever you can to let your body float and move, be current. Really, all you need to do is make space for this energy to move. Practice some of the sun salutation, some of the breath work that we have listed at the Mystic Source School. There's a whole wealth of information in there for letting your body do what it's here to do, which is heal, which is to evolve, to elevate you, for Creator to experience the fullness of humanity in the certain flavor that you are. And Creator has a dream of you. So when Creator was dreaming you up, what was that dream? What was the vision for you? And then here you come, birthed out into the world. What was your original dream, and how has that dream evolved and changed? What is the dream of your life? Connecting in with that. What is the dream of your life? And when you take time and space out of your body and fill it with emptiness, the loving darkness, the void of potential, and look at yourself. So you've taken out your ego identity and put it at the side and filled up yourself with the loving darkness. What do you see? What do you see? What do you vision for yourself? What do you want to become? What do you want to experience? And how do you want life to move through you? And who cares? Because life is going to move through you and you really don't have any control, but you do have free will. So if the Creator's dream of me was like, oh, you're a healer and a nurturer and you're going to do this. And I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of tired of that. I kind of want to go out and experience some of these other things. You can absolutely do that. And I think that that's I think that's part of it, is like, because as we have little kids, we kind of see who they are and what they are, but then they throw in this other thing and you're like, oh wow. And they go out, they expand beyond what the original blueprint for themselves was. You evolve and grow beyond, even beyond your birth chart. The birth chart is a blueprint, but you can expand and go beyond. And that's probably part of that Aquarian energy of expanding beyond. Okay, Venus is there, so be receptive, relax. There's a softness to this new moon, a real softness and nurturing, healing energy to this new moon. Mercury will be moving into Pisces very soon. And while we're in Pisces season, Aquarius will also be in Pisces. So there's going to be a whole new way that we feel, a new way we express and communicate about feelings, from feelings. And I'll talk more about that next week. So thank you so much for joining me tonight on the channel on Shivaratri, Night of Shiva. And I look forward to connecting with you soon.